Welcome back to Bazar Holidays. I hope you enjoyed episode 1, where we dove into crafter's paradise and explored how one of our fellow makers has made woodworking not just a passion, but an incredible way to create community. For episode 2, we're posting on Black Friday, so I hope you're stuffed with great food, some sweet treats, and a lot of good gatherings. And I like to think maybe you're listening in a Black Friday line, ready to grab a bargain, or maybe you're dusting off the Christmas ornaments. Wherever or however you're listening, I am eternally grateful to get to tell you these stories, to these makers for indulging my questions, and for you, the listener, hopefully enjoying these conversations. And, of course, to technology for democratizing the ability to bring you content. In this episode of Bazar Holidays, we leave the woodshop and enter the kitchen of Laura Springer to talk about sugar cookies and learn about the latest craze in holiday cheer, the cocoa bomb. That's right, cocoa bombs. Laura is incredible, not just because she is super talented and her creations are truly out of this world. She is a mom on top of being a cookie decorator, and I really love how passionate she is about making people's moments into memories with her delicious work. So this is episode 2, Sugar Cookies and Cocoa Bombs, Making It Sweet for these Bazar Holidays. We'll start off easily. Where did you get the baking bug? Where did that originate for you?
My grandma, actually. My grandma used to own a catering business, so I grew up, in the kitchen with my mom and my grandma. So I've always kind of had that love for baking, all kinds of things. I guess my grandma.
I love that. I love when that's a common theme, the crafting coming through the generations.
Baking pies is one of my, memories with her, is just being in the kitchen and baking those pies around the holidays.
Now, let me ask you this. Have you mastered the fruit pie?
No.
No. Okay, good. I'm not alone then.
No.
So then how did you get started from being a kid in the kitchen with your grandma to pivoting to being an adult baking? And what was the process like deciding that your baking was something that you could sell?
It's actually kind of funny because I've never really sold anything that I've baked. I mean, I've always had a passion. I love to take treats to work, and I actually work full time. So baking is something I just do on the side, but it hasn't always been that way. I've just always taken things to work, cookies, cakes, and breads, and different kinds of things. And so I started actually buying cookies, decorated cookies from a gal around the holidays. She'd made these beautiful trays of cookies, decorated sugar cookies. So I started buying them from her, and then she was offering classes. And so once I started buying her cookies, I was like, man, the talent here,
right.
to do this art is just crazy to me. And it was something I had wanted to learn how to do. In December of 2019, my husband actually got me classes with her. So from there, right after that is when COVID hit, and she was no longer able to offer classes.
Mm-hmm.
And so my work, I was actually only going into the office 2 days a week during that time. And so I had some extra time at home. And I just started watching videos and tutorials online and kind of practicing, trying out new cookie recipes and just working on the piping and the decorating. So that's really how I got started. And from there, people, we were sharing on Facebook, and I think as a lot of people do, and people started seeing my work, which wasn't very good at that time. I didn't think it was very good, but people obviously thought it was good. Mm-hmm. And then they started requesting cookies from me for their events and holidays. I was actually pretty hesitant at first because I just didn't feel like my skill level was quite there. Mm-hmm. And each set and request that I got was a new opportunity to learn and enhance my skills. I've been doing it now for a little over 2.5 years, and I have so many repeat customers and people that, go to an event that my cookies are at. I get I usually get at least one request from a new person that ate my cookies and loved them, or was at an event that my cookies were there.
I'm scrolling through your Instagram as we're talking, and the talent level, I've dabbled in cookie decorating from time to time, and I know what it takes to be at your level, and I'm very impressed.
So you did cookie decorating. That's really cool.
I did, yeah. I was also I didn't do it the full COVID, but I dabbled for a bit during lockdown.
Yeah.
Some of these things I'm seeing on your Instagram are just the cutest. Stashes and lashes. Was that for a gender reveal?
That was a gender reveal. Yep, that was a fun set.
Tell me about that idea. Where'd it come from?
Normally the clients, the clients reach out to me and, let me know what the themes are. I usually ask for kind of some of their inspiration, so I know kind of what they're looking for. And from there, I just kind of build on the things that they send me. Something I absolutely love about being a part of these special events through my cookies is just, the feedback from people that are just like, your talent amazes me. And we see ourselves differently because I pick apart every single set that I do.
Right.
I'm a bit of a perfectionist. So that's, I guess, one of my biggest challenges throughout cookie decorating is just trying not to nitpick all my, all the flaws that I see. Getting to, I guess, be a part of these events through my cookies, it makes me feel good. So
yeah, that's a good motivating factor to keep at it.
Mm-hmm.
The thing I love about, I ended up taking to cupcakes and decorating cupcakes. But what I loved about it was that each one was sort of a fresh start. It wasn't like it was one giant cake or something that, like, if I messed up once, the whole cake was ruined. I could start. I had 12. If it was a dozen, I had 12 different fresh starts.
Yeah.
One of the pictures that stands out to me that is on your Instagram is the snail cookie, where you sort of go 3D here with the little rosette piping. Your call out of being a perfectionist, you called yourself out in your caption, and you said you need to practice a little bit. So tell me where that idea came from and kind of the process there.
So I find a lot of inspiration through Instagram, actually, is where I find it. Because the talent for cookie decorators out there, the number of people that I follow, I mean, I'm just blown away. And sometimes I'm like, wow, I don't even compare to some of these people, the talent levels that are out there. But I actually found that technique through somebody else on Instagram, and I thought, that is adorable. That set was one for my husband's aunt. It was for her granddaughter, and she loves reading and snails, and that was actually something hard to come up with because she just said, well, these are the things that she likes, and trying to find something that could, I was like, okay, well, this is like a bunch of random stuff that I'm just going to throw together.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I find a lot of inspiration online. I'm part of a lot of cookie decorating groups where people share their ideas and you can take inspiration from.
Yeah, it's like the community aspect of crafting is, as I do these interviews, just through and through, it's all about the community and the people.
Yes. The cookie community, to be honest, everybody is so supportive. If there's people are having issues with their cookies and they are not coming out correctly, so, somebody will post and then, the amount of responses, oh, I had that happen, this is what you need to do. Or, so there is a huge support in the cookie community that I've really taken to finding different, in these different groups and just the support from other bakers. And it's really neat to be a part of.
So if cookie artists have their different styles, how would you describe your style of cookie?
I will say one of the things that I like about my cookie, I'm going to just talk about the actual cookie itself first, and then kind of go into, I guess, my style. The cookie itself, I have come to like a thicker cookie. I also I don't like my cookies overdone. Some people will kind of overbake their cookies. To me, it looks overbaked. So I kind of tend to almost underbake slightly. I think it makes for a moister cookie. And then as far as my style, I want to create whatever the customer or whatever the client is looking for. And I do my best in like I almost put myself in their shoes and, based on their inspirations that they're sending me, if I was them, what would I want to see? So each set for me, I don't necessarily know that I have a particular styles. Looking at several of the artists actually, like their tones in their colors. Mm-hmm. Their tones are kind of muted, more. They don't use a lot of bright. I don't see, like several of them, I don't see bright colors. Mm-hmm. I see kind of muted tones and things like that. I pull in those techniques. I love some of those muted tones, but also I base each one off of the sets and requests that I'm getting. Right. So kind of change and adapt to whatever the customer is asking or looking for, and how would I want that set to look if it were being given to me.
Right. You're kind of a sugar cookie fairy godmother, like wish granter.
Yeah. One of the feedback that I got from one of my customers, and the feedback is honestly, a lot of it sticks with me because it's why I continue to do it. Mm-hmm. Is she said, you make my sets come, the ideas in my head, you make them come to life in these cookies. That's what I try to do with each set, is just make it even more than what they're envisioning.
Okay, I want to go back to one of the things you first said, that you got started during COVID. So COVID times, we all sort of had some idle time on our hands, and idle hands and baking, I think, go well together. There's always something to bake. But now you're back to a full-time job. So what's the balance like? How do you manage?
So I keep a pretty organized schedule. I have a cookie calendar, if you will, that, when I get requests, I have just had to learn. For a long time, I didn't say no to a lot of requests, mm-hmm. even when I was stretching myself very thin. Yeah. And I've learned especially over the last year, my personal life and my cookie life, I didn't have a very good balance, and cookies were overtaking. Mm. And so I've just gone to a schedule, and I have kind of learned my limits on how much, because it's time consuming. Yeah. I don't think people realize when they're asking for a set how much time actually goes into not only just baking the cookies and, but then the making of the icing, and then the, coloring the icing, and then actually sitting down to pipe every, detail. Yeah,
and letting one detail dry so you can add on another detail, and it takes a long time.
Yeah, so I've just learned, like I said, over this past year, how much I can take on, and I've had to say no more recently. And honestly, I hate saying no, because I would love to do every single set, but I do have to, I've had to find a better balance for my, I have 2 kids and a husband at home, and I just keep a very regimented calendar, a cookie calendar. If I feel like it's something that I can take on, I will try and, squeeze it in. If not, I just have to, unfortunately say I'm not available.
I mean, that's a good lesson for all aspects in life, right? Learn to say no when you feel overextended.
Yes. And for a while, it's hard. It really is hard because, you want to help these people. You want to be a part of those special, for me, I want to be a part of these special occasions, and I would love the new opportunities to take on a different theme and all of that. But, I also have to be able to balance.
How do you make sure that you are still enjoying the cookie process, right? Because that's part of crafting, baking, whatever we're doing with our hands in our free time, we want to enjoy it.
To be honest, it's taking those times to recharge, mm-hmm. because for a while there, it was like every week, every weekend, you're saying, oh, I got to do these cookies, and then really just that time to recharge is how I come back to, okay, now I'm ready to take on more, or take on sets now because I've had that time away.
So here's a question for you, because I want to see if your family is like my family, and when we get together, they sort of expect me to bring the baked good. Does that happen with you?
To be honest, sometimes, but no. I mean, my mom is the baker. My mom does a lot of baking too. My mom and I love to. We're very close, and so we love to be in the kitchen together. Christmas time. I mean, we're getting ready to, start our holiday baking, and that's something that we do together, which I enjoy, and I enjoy the memories. My daughter's starting to be in the kitchen with us, and she's 9, and so just kind of continuing those traditions that I grew up with, being, mom and grandma in the kitchen. I don't necessarily think that they have the expectation of me to always bring it, because my mom is usually the one to help with that. So
that's good. And then, so the second part of that is, what about your coworkers? How do they look forward to you bringing in some treats?
They do, yeah. But what's so funny is my coworkers are so supportive. I actually had a couple of them come to the bazaar this past weekend and buy goodies from me. They never expect them for free, or they know the work and everything that goes into it, and they love when I do bring things in. Right. But they also are supportive of of my time and my the effort that goes into creating all of my goodies.
That's good. They're not taking advantage of the privilege.
No, absolutely not. Right. And a lot of times, especially the holidays, when I have extra time to put some things together, that's how those are the gifts that I give usually, are cookies or the cocoa bombs. The cocoa bombs started, I had seen a video and I was like, oh, those are neat, and I just did them for my family that year. And had a couple people that were like, can you make these for us? And I said, well, as long as you don't tell anybody. I made them for 2 people. And I said, don't tell anybody I'm making them. And so then in 2020 was my first bazaar at Mountain View. And I decided to make the cocoa bombs. I'd kind of looked up, again, recipes and joined a couple of groups and was learning the process along the way for cocoa bombs. And here at Mountain View in that was last year, 2021. So I made the cocoa bombs in all the different varieties, and I was sold out at that bazaar of cocoa bombs by 1:00 in the afternoon. I was like, it was mad rush. I mean, just people everywhere. It was just crazy. I never could have anticipated the turnout.
And I should step in here because I know this is an audio project. So not everyone may be looking at the cocoa bombs when they're hearing this, but your cocoa bombs aren't just like a run-of-the-mill cocoa bomb. These are gorgeous little like globes of art.
Thank you. Yes.
So,
and they're all flavored, so it's not just chocolate on the outside and, a regular packet of cocoa on the inside. They're all flavored, different mixes that go into, each particular flavor. And they have been really, really fun. We actually started at Christmas when I made them for my family. All the kids got to pick their flavor. I made them all the ones that they wanted, and everybody made their own cocoa bombs, and then we filled our travel mugs with the cocoa, and we hit the road and went Christmas light looking with all of us. So that's kind of been the tradition the last couple of years, is we make our cocoa bombs, and then we hit the road and go out Christmas light looking and everything just before Christmas. I
love that. So I have so many questions about the cocoa bomb. So first off, how do you flavor the cocoa?
So some of them are pre-made cocoa, but they're made by Stevens, is the brand, Stevens Cocoa. Last year, I made a homemade gingerbread cocoa. Wow. So I had a gingerbread shell, and I found a recipe online for a homemade gingerbread cocoa mix. And it was phenomenal. Wow. A lot of them, depending on which one. So Stevens has like the different flavors, and they're actually really delicious gourmet cocoa mixes that go into each one. Otherwise, it's the peppermint is a candy cane cocoa, and then some of them I mix hot chocolate with the different flavor. So like the chocolate covered strawberry also has cocoa and Nesquik in a strawberry flavored shell.
Oh, fun.
So yeah, you just kind of, there's just different recipes that I've come to like.
One of the things at the Bazaar, when I was looking at your booth, one of the things I appreciated was I think on one of your cocoa bombs you had a dried apple on top. Is that right?
Yes, those ones are actually a salted caramel shell with apple cider inside instead of cocoa.
Oh, stop it. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Where did that idea come from?
To be honest, I did the apple cider last year, and I just ended up using like the caramel bits on top as like the decoration. And this year, I decided I think a dried apple would be very pretty. So I just got a bag of dried apples at the store and plopped it on there.
Yeah, so I'm going to share with you one of my closely held secrets, and it's that one of my greatest pleasures in life is going up and down every aisle of the grocery store, imagining what could go on a cake or a cupcake or a cookie.
I love that.
That's how I meditate.
Yeah. Well, and there's so many. Okay, so the chocolate-covered strawberry bomb, honestly, one of my top 3 favorites is that. It's incredibly delicious. But I happened to be at Walmart last year, and I found they're marshmallows that look like a strawberry, and they're filled with chocolate. So I bought them last year, and what I did was I ended up cutting them in half because they're quite large. Yeah. I just cut them in half and then stuck them face down, the chocolate side down on there. But I thought that was just so fun to have a chocolate-covered bomb with a chocolate-covered filled strawberry marshmallow. I
love that. I've seen those, but I did not know they had chocolate inside. That's a whole game changer.
Yes. It's a tiny bit of chocolate, but...
I love that. Yeah, the Christmas tree-shaped marshmallows, and at the 4th of July for camping, we took red, white, and blue marshmallows. They were normal size, but just the colors I appreciated.
Yeah.
So chocolate... When you work with chocolate, that is not as easy as just popping it in the microwave. How did you kind of learn the behavior patterns of chocolate and to the point where you could form it into balls, and walk me through all of that process?
So the chocolates, I actually use melt because they're a lot easier to work with. Chocolate is very temperamental, especially white chocolate. Yeah. So I actually use flavored melts for all of my cocoa bombs.
Smart.
And the molds, I found upon joining some of these groups that I'm in, I found a distributor for these, the shells. It's a 3-piece mold. And you can buy in the store, you can buy the sphere molds now, but you have to kind of melt the chocolate and then brush it up the sides. They don't coat as evenly. You get thick spots. These molds that I purchased, they're actually there's a bottom layer, and you put your chocolate, and there's a fill line, how far you need to fill it to make the mold complete. And then there's a plastic insert, or a kind of it's a flimsy plastic insert that goes inside, and then a top, and you press them together. And I've had to watch a lot of techniques because to get them up to the very edge, it was definitely a learning process. Yeah. They just go directly into the freezer. And then once you take them out of the freezer, you take the top part off, and then the mold pops out with the plastic, and you peel the plastic off the inside.
Oh, wow.
So it's been a learning process for the cocoa bombs. I've gotten actually pretty fast, and the commercial kitchen provides the extra space to be able to do all the steps.
Right, and that's what I was going to ask you is where do you do this? And doing it in a commercial kitchen, I would be led to believe you'd have to make some sort of reservation, or that sort of helps with your scheduling too.
Yes. So there's a commercial kitchen in Salmon Creek, and when I very first wanted to do the bazaar, I had no idea. I never knew anything about a commercial kitchen. When I first started doing cookies, I was just kind of out of my house, friends and family. I'd make these sets for them, and then as it kind of grew, I had to, and doing the bazaar, the county requires, there's a lot of requirements from the county, but they require in order to get a permit to do the bazaar, you have to, run out of a commercial kitchen.
Right.
Which is how I first learned about it. And it was a total game changer, to be honest. I found one, I was referred by the county to one that they knew of, and they didn't have availability to take on any new vendors. Mm-hmm. But they referred me to the one that I'm at now. And they have an online portal, and you go in and you can reserve your space and the appliances that you need. I think there's 4 different workstations there. So you could have potentially 4 groups of people there at the same time.
Mm-hmm. Let's see here. So when you go to the commercial kitchen, are you by yourself or do you have somebody helping you out?
It depends. Here I did a lot. Actually, I did all of them at the commercial kitchen by myself. My mom sometimes will help me if I need an extra hand. Mm-hmm. But so usually just me.
Yeah. And so walk me through the process of sort of how because you strike me as someone who's very organized. So you get into the kitchen, what happens? Set the mood. Is there music or you have headphones on? And then how do you get started?
So I have my music, and the last few times I've been there hasn't been anybody else there with me. So it's just been me. So I just have my phone with a, little Bluetooth speaker and turn on the music. I like to get everything laid out. My molds get laid out, or my ingredients, and everything is, I usually have a plan in my head of what I'm going to do. Mm-hmm. If I'm doing cocoa bombs, it's one flavor of mold. And then once I'm done with those, I start on the next one. You kind of get cocoa bombs. I'll start with cocoa bombs. So cocoa bombs, I just do an assembly line. You lay out the molds. I've found that I use these little 2-ounce cups, kind of like, I guess people make Jell-O shots in them.
Yeah.
That's what I can think of. So I use those. I set those down, and then the shells fit on top of those very nicely. Mm-hmm. And then you line them out, fill them with your cocoa and your marshmallows, and then you have to have a heating pad. Typically it's a hot plate, mm-hmm. And you melt one side and then stick it to the other half sphere to complete the cocoa bomb, and then drizzling. You have to drizzle to get your toppings to stick.
So this is a novice question, because I've never, I'm familiar with the bath bomb, but not the cocoa bomb. This is all brand new information to me. So the cocoa bomb is completely round, correct?
Yes.
So how do you keep them from going all over the place?
So there's 2 spheres, two halves. Mm-hmm. That make the whole. So you have one half sphere. I put in the cocoa and the marshmallows. Mm-hmm. The other half sphere I put face down on the hot plate, mm-hmm. and then you stick it right over top of the other half sphere with the cocoa and marshmallows in it. Mm-hmm. And then once the chocolate hardens, it's one solid ball. Once the spheres are together, what prevents them from rolling about? They're sitting on the cups. Oh, that's where the cups come in. On those little I think they're 2-ounce little cups, and then they're not rolling around. It actually also lifts it up off of the surface, the table surface, and which makes drizzling easier. Drizzle right over top. I have actually learned it's best if you just lay down a tablecloth, and then right underneath, and then you drizzle directly onto it, and then when you're done, you roll up your tablecloth and throw it in the trash. Perfect. Yeah, get those dollar store plastic tablecloths. Yep, exactly. That's great. Yeah. Okay, I want to circle back to the cookies real quick, because once you get a good sugar cookie recipe, it's sort of your sugar cookie recipe for life. Yes. I have found, and at least in my family. Where did your recipe come from, and kind of tell me about kind of the flavor of it? Okay, so when I very first took the class with the gal that was teaching them in Kalama, mm-hmm. provided us like a basic sugar cookie recipe and a basic royal icing recipe to kind of learn at home. Mm-hmm. And so I used that recipe, and then I just kind of started looking online. It was okay, but I started looking online, watching videos, and I kind of pulled from a few different areas. So my sugar cookie, I just kind of pulled ingredients from a few places and then made one. Mm-hmm. That I liked about certain recipes. So my cookie is a vanilla almond sugar cookie. I really like almond flavoring in it. Mm-hmm. It just adds a little something to it. A little bit different from a lot of sugar cookies is the almond. I use almond extract. My recipe is not a granulated sugar recipe. I actually use powdered sugar. One thing I like about powdered sugar is I feel like when you eat the cookie, it melts in your mouth. And I like that. I don't like a hard sugar cookie, crunchy. I'm not a crunchy. I like it to kind of just melt in your mouth, and that's kind of what I feel like the powdered sugar adds to it. Yeah,
that's great. I've never made a sugar cookie with powdered sugar. I'm gonna have to try it.
Okay. Yes, it's phenomenal.
Where'd you get your imagination? Have you always been creative and imaginative?
I've always kind of had, I love crafting. I've done lots of different things over the years as far as crafting. But again, I go back to it comes all from my grandma's very artistic. My grandma makes cards, and my mom was into scrapbooking for many years. And so I think those ideas have just kind of being with them over the years and in our times together, that's what I grew up with and around. And so it's always just been something I've been around. And
yeah, it's a little bit of both.
And built on as I've gotten older.
Yeah, it's a little bit of both nurture and nature, it sounds like.
Yeah.
So what is your dream cookie? If you had to make your perfect cookie for yourself, I think you're settled on the recipe, but tell me what shape it is. What's the decoration like?
Well, okay, so I like sugar cookies. But I love cookies. All kinds of cookies.
Okay.
I'm going to say this because I don't do a lot of desserts. Mm-hmm. I can do without cake. I can do without candy. I can do without ice cream. But cookies have always been like my number one choice for dessert would be a cookie. I'm a big fan of crumble. I'm not going to lie.
Okay.
So I guess my dream cookie or ultimate cookie that would be something with chocolate and peanut butter.
Oh, same. Yeah.
Of chocolate and peanut butter.
Totally. There's no better combination in the world than chocolate and peanut butter. So I have to ask, it was cookies, went into cocoa bombs. What's next? What's the next innovation?
So at the bazaar, I made these little, I don't know if they were still there when you came by because they were actually sold out pretty quickly. But they're little push pops. I don't know if you remember like the Flintstone push pop ice creams. Okay. I found these containers on Amazon last year, and I wanted to do these little layered cake pop, which I did. Mm-hmm. And they sold very well. So I had some containers left over from last year that didn't get used. So I was like, I'll just use up these and make a couple new things. I ended up doing brownie push pops and edible cookie dough. And those were really popular.
Now that you've heard Laura's story, you absolutely have to check out her Instagram. It's at Sweet on Me Cookies. Get ready to be blown away. And while you're there, you can find me on Instagram at Jordan J. Frasier. Slide into my DMs and let me know what you think of this episode and this whole series of Bazar Holidays. I really appreciate you listening, and stay tuned for episode 3. And I don't want to give anything away, but we'll take another turn, and this one your dog might like just as much as you do. Until next time, this is Bazar Holidays.